what it is that we recognize today, Veterans Day. It has been said that it is easy to take liberty for granted when it has never been taken from you. We are thankful today for all those who have served our country in order to maintain the freedoms that we enjoy on a daily basis and the opportunities that lie at our disposal if we make the efforts to reach out and take advantage of them. We recognize today the sacrifices that have been made by those who have served our country as well as their families and loved ones. For those who leave their homes and families, those whose lives have been altered by physical and emotional wounds, and those who have sacrificed their lives to maintain the quality of our own, we acknowledge and express appreciation for their patriotism. Please understand the sensitivity of the ceremony to follow. I will excuse you to your next period class at the conclusion of the ceremony. Thank you.
Plum High School Air Force Junior ROTC Color Guard, commanded by Cadet Second Lieutenant Aaron Mason.
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets and the bombs bursting in air gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
You may be seated.
Don't sit.
We spend today remembering the men and women of our armed forces who have come together through the centuries to fight for a common cause, liberty. They defended America when our borders, our people, and our way of life were threatened. When others turned away, it was our veterans who were willing to stand up and be counted and put their boots on the ground to defend our freedom.
Without a doubt, our most potent weapon in war has been the men and women in uniform. They come from all across America, from small towns and cities, and from varied backgrounds. They volunteered and answered our nation's call to duty.
After the Revolutionary War, President George Washington said, "We owe these veterans a debt of gratitude, indeed a debt of honor." Today, all over the nation, Americans are gathering together to remember and pay tribute to our veterans. Today is a chance to thank all veterans who have selflessly answered the call to duty, and remember those who have served this nation from our community. Please focus your attention to our screen as we present a short video to honor our veterans. Stop to thank a veteran today for the price of freedom they had to pay. Did you gaze into those distant eyes? Did you see the ghost you can't deny?
Did you think a soldier's heart was made of steel because he was trained to kill he couldn't feel? Did you see the guilt written on his face for the loss of life he can't replace? Did you know he mourns the lives of he couldn't save and walks with comrades in their grave?
Did you remember the boy with innocent loss? Do you know war's ultimate cost? Have you felt the blast of artillery fire? Do you have the courage it would require? Have you stood in trenches consumed with fear, felt the enemy's breath so very near?
Have you walked with God on a battleground, seen your brothers dead or dying all around? Have you stopped to think of that today, or did you just turn and walk away? From the pain he'll carry for the rest of his life, did you consider his family, his children, his wife, that watch him suffer in silence each and every day, and he's haunted by memories that don't go away?
Did you care that that soldier is still pulling guard, that his heart, his mind, his soul will forever be scarred? Do you know how he suffers from PTSD? Precious freedom is never free. Do you care that he still hears blood-curdling screams, or that he returns to war each night in his dreams?
Have you felt the sorrow of a combat vet, or would you rather just forget that war has pierced his hardened heart and torn this soldier all apart? Would you rather our heroes just fade away, or would you stop to think of that today? We do not always realize the sacrifices that our veterans make so that we can wake up in a free country every day.
Use today to thank our veterans for the sacrifices they have made. Every day we live and work with people who have served this nation as veterans of our armed forces. This morning we would like to honor them by reading their names. If you are with us, please stand and be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, please hold your applause till the names have been read. From the Plum Senior High School staff, Chief Master Sergeant Tim Conley, United States Air Force. Martin Griffith, United States Marine Corps. Paul Hood, United States Navy. Major Scott Kolar, United States Air Force. Kelly Lott, United States Army. Jeannie Marcini, United States Army. Don Rissick, United States Army. Chief Master Sergeant Terry Spear, United States Air Force.
The following veterans are members of our custodial staff. Please thank them for their service the next time that you see them. Warren Green, United States Air Force. Jim Holmes, United States Marine Corps. Carrie Kelly, Pennsylvania Army National Guard. The following veterans are members of the Transportation Department. Please be sure to express your appreciation to them next time that you see them. Jim Bateman, United States Navy. Rich Klein, United States Army. Carl Gustafson, United States Army. Tom Kunkel, United States Army. Eugene McAvoy, United States Air Force. Bill Sikora, United States Navy. John Zavada, United States Marine Corps.
The following is a student who has made a commitment to join our Army Reserves, Private Marcus Kellen.
These veterans are in attendance today. Please thank them the next time that you see them.
Every morning we wake up in a free land because of the men and women like these. Thank you for all your service.
We are in this room for a very important and special reason. We are here to celebrate the lives of all the men and women that have served or are currently serving who proudly wear an American uniform on their back. We are here to thank the heroes that live among us. No matter what war branch they are a part of, remember to take the time today and do just that. And remember those who make sacrifices to help our country remain the great one that it is. Think of them while you're enjoying the various freedoms that we often take for granted while they are away at war, away from their families and friends. Think of them at night when you lay your head on your pillow to rest, but they continue to fight for peace. Think of them not only today, but rather every day, because they are always thinking of you while they are following their call in life. They are doing the honor of what many of us would never even begin to consider doing. Show that you appreciate all they have done, even if it's a simple handshake and a thank you. Never forget to exercise the freedoms granted to you and give back to your community what veterans and troops give to you. Now, I'd like to ask any family members or friends of any service member to please stand. We know you may face your own battle at home at times, and we'd like to take this time to thank you for all you have done to be a part of the support team on the home front. You may be seated. I'd like to share a poem written by Joanna Fuse that I believe reflects the essence of Veterans Day.
We forgot to mention two of our vets who are with us in our audience today. Mr. Maddenjack, United States Navy, and Mrs. Shanahan, Marines. We are coming to a special part of our ceremony we call Flags of Remembrance. We are doing this part of the ceremony to remember and thank our veterans who have served. We would ask that you please stand and honor any friends, loved ones, or acquaintances who have served in one of these branches.
United States Navy.
The United States Army was formed on June 14, 1975 and continues to serve to this day. This flag is represented by Plum AFJROTC Cadet Steve Hahn.
United States Marine Corps. The United States Marine Corps began November 10, 1775 and is still serving to present day. This flag is represented by Plum Air Force Junior ROTC Cadet Jake Dannon.
United States Air Force. The United States Air Force was formed September 12, 1947 and continues to serve to this day. This flag is represented by Plum AFJROTC Cadet Don Markham.
United States Coast Guard. The United States Coast Guard was founded August 4, 1790 and is today. This flag is represented by Plum Air Force Junior ROTC Cadet Justin Blue.
This morning, our veterans from Plum Borough and officers of the student government will be presenting the wreaths for each.
Right. Hey.
The American Revolutionary War, also known as the American War of Independence, started when the 13 colonies decided to declare their independence from the mother country of Great Britain. The war lasted from 1775 to 1783 and ended in a victory for the colonies, newly named as the United States of America. This war marks the beginning of the United States as a free and independent country. This wreath is presented by Ryan Patriga, Student Council Vice President, and Josh Barnhart, United States Army.
The Civil War was also called the War Between the States, starting in 1861 and lasted until 1865. It began after the Southern states began to secede from the Union, becoming a Confederate state of America. The war was not just about slavery, but also about the state rights and well-being of the entire country. It remains as one of the deadliest wars in America, with over 620,000 lives lost. This wreath is presented by Gregory Varga, Student Government President, and Mr. John Rissick, United States Army.
World War I, also known as the First World War, the Great War, and the War to End All Wars, was a global military conflict that took place mostly in Europe between 1914 and 1918. It was a total war which left millions dead and helped to shape this modern world. This wreath is presented by Thomas Rosinski, Junior Class President, and Mrs. Shanahan, U.S. Marine Corps, in recognition of those who served in World War I.
World War II was a worldwide conflict fought between the Allied and Axis powers from 1939 until 1945. It is the largest war in history, with the military forces from over 70 nations fighting in aerial, naval, and ground-based combat. Spanning much of the global war, World War II resulted in the deaths of over 60 million people. The war ended in 1945 with an Allied victory. During the 6 years of America's commitment to World War II, over 290 servicemen were killed or listed missing. This week is presented by Caleb Trotsky, Sophomore Class President, and Ms. Kelly Lott, United States Army and Army Reserves, in recognition of those who served in World War II.
The Korean War, also known as the Forgotten War, was one of the first episodes of the Cold War. Taking place on the Korean Peninsula and Manchuria, this war began in the early hours of June 25, 1950, when North Korean troops crossed the 38th parallel and invaded South Korea. The war featured some of the most intense fighting ever experienced by American soldiers, and some of the worst conditions. Nearly 37,000 American servicemen lost their lives in the 3 years of fighting. The majority of losses were concentrated in the first year. This wreath is represented by Gina Danku, Freshman Class President, and Mr. Matajak, U.S. Navy, in recognition of those who served in the Korean War.
The Vietnam War began after President Kennedy committed the people of the United States of America to defend the infant democratic government of Southern Vietnam in order to aid in the prevention of the spread of communism. Despite its arguably noble intentions, the war in Vietnam would prove the greatest challenge to the American democratic idealism since the Civil War. During the 10 years of America's commitment to the Vietnam War, 55,000 servicemen were killed or listed as missing in action. This wreath is presented by Mandy Ventry, Student Council Secretary, and Mr. Martin Griffith, United States Marine Corps, in recognition of those who served in the Vietnam War.
The Gulf War was an armed conflict between Iraq and a coalition of 32 nations. It was a result of Iraq's invasion of Kuwait on the 2nd of August, 1990. On August 7th, U.S. troops moved in to protect Saudi Arabia. The United Nations set a deadline for a peaceful withdrawal of Iraqi troops from Kuwait, but Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein refused to comply, and Operation Desert Storm was launched. The U.S.-led coalition began a massive air war to destroy Iraq's forces and military infrastructure. The main coalition forces invaded Kuwait and Iraq on February 24, 1991, and over the next 4 days encircled and defeated the Iraqis, liberating Kuwait. This wreath is represented by Daniel Kuhn, Student Council Treasurer, in recognition of those who served in the Gulf War.
The global war on terrorism is an ongoing campaign with the stated goal of ending international terrorism by preventing the groups said to be in terrorist nature. This campaign was launched by the United States with support from NATO and other allies, and was in response to the unprovoked attacks on September 11, 2001 on New York City and Washington, D.C., carried out by the terroristic organization Al-Qaeda. This wreath is presented by Student Council Rep. Caitlin Kleiber and Mr. Gene Marcini, United States Army, in recognition of those who serve and who have served in the war on terrorism.
Our final wreath is represented in recognition of military members who served in combat in other conflicts. From Grenada to Thailand and from Afghanistan to Mogadishu, American servicemen and women have fought with honor and courage in the defense of our nation and our nation's interest abroad. This wreath is represented by John McAlvey, Senior Class Representative, in recognition of those who served in combat in the defense of this great nation. Throughout its history, America's citizens have marched, sailed, and flown off to defend its ideals. Many have never returned.
We would like to have a short moment of silence for the nephew of Audrey Petty, Staff Sergeant Michael E. Dooley, who was killed in action during the combat operations in Iraq. As we come to the end of our ceremony, we are going to show a short video thanking all veterans who have served so we can have our freedom and all who are still serving. We ask that after this video, please return to your next period quietly once you're dismissed by Mr. Casella. Thank you.